Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by the Tapoco Lodge. They're on their winter break right now, but the team there at the Lodge want you to, and all of your loved ones to have a very Merry Christmas, the merriest of Christmas, and a terrific Christmas week all week long. We thank them for being a part of the Sports Source family as they wish your family a great holiday season. Okay. Guys, are we looking at major roster turnover? And I'm just going to open this up here. Didn't do a list or anything, but you've got a lot of guys who are leaving for various reasons already. You know, Garantano is going somewhere else, put his name in the transfer portal. Brandon Kennedy will not come back for a 7th year. Brandon Johnson transferring. Brent Smaglia opted out for the last part of the season, and we don't know what his future holds. Other names, other guys that do you think will be going? And then you've got now a transfer waiver that the NCAA is allowing people to go for the free pass during this COVID thing. If Tennessee makes a coaching change, how much more does that roster churn get amplified? What are we looking at in terms of Tennessee's roster next year? A lot of people are saying, well, you have this back and this back and this back. Are we sure? I think this could be ugly. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're going to see it. I think for two things. One, I think if they do make a change, I think players are going to sit and wait. If they don't, I mean, the players are always, loyal to who's there, and I think they'll be, okay for the most part. Tennessee didn't have a ton of opt-outs compared to a lot of other programs. Mm-hmm. So I think you won't see that. But I think, too, there's probably something to be said for players learning their lesson from the portal last year, and that there were too many players in the portal and not enough spots at programs that they wanted to go. And there were a lot of players stuck in the portal for months on end. And, you want to talk about, hey, we want to play football, but at the end of the day, you still want a scholarship to be able to play and get your education. And if you're sitting in the portal, you don't have that.
Nothing worse than being stuck in a portal.
We've all been there, I think, at some point or another.
You don't want to be locked in the portal. Josh, what do you think about this? I mean, let me throw out two other names we don't know about. Brian Maurer, I would think he would probably, he's tweeted about leaving before, and I would, with this now out there, I'd be surprised. Eric Gray, got to wonder what his future holds.
Sure.
In terms of talent level, is there any concern? David isn't as concerned as I am. What about you? Where are you on the possibility of Tennessee losing some good players?
Well, I think if there's a change with the head coach, that would affect it more, just because you have the natural turnover that can occur where a coach can come in and might evaluate and say, well, you don't necessarily fit what we want to do. I think there might be a little bit of an overreaction naturally to how it would affect the signing class, because I think a lot of them they signed this past week knowing that, hey, something could potentially happen. Now, guys that are unsigned, because not everybody signed this past week, there's a defensive end, Dylan Brooks. What does he think? Oddly enough, his two schools that he probably would have considered, Tennessee and Auburn, in that scenario would be looking for a head coach. But so if Jeremy Pruitt stays as Tennessee's coach, I do think most players have bought in. Would there be turnover? Sure, but I think that's just going to be the natural case in college football.
Sterling, your thoughts on, as Josh mentioned, a lot of these guys who signed with Tennessee, they knew Pruitt's situation. Kids, we all know that they should pick a school based on the school, not the coach. But as a former player, how do you look at that when these kids sign and then coach gets blown up? Is that just
because of the waiver, because of the new rules that the players now have little options in their decision and can correct a mistake at a school, and we benefited from that handsomely over the past few years. If there is a coaching change at University of Tennessee, we will lose a lot of people. Period. End of story. Players come to schools because they love the coaches that are there. Not every great player is recruited by every coach. You look at all these players in the College Football Hall of Fame, those that have played for the Vols, were not recruited by every school in the United States, simply because every coach didn't like them. And so why would you stay at a school where you can potentially, now you have a waiver, you can transfer, and you can get your year back, and all these other things that have happened to help the players out in their decision that may have been a mistake, and then the coaches leave, and you get a coach that just doesn't like your style of game. That's just the reality of football. And we're going to face that harsh reality if we do have a coaching change.
Now, let me end it on a positive note for you. While Tennessee, I think there could be more churn than people are thinking right now. On the other hand, with all the transfers, there could be a lot. The churn isn't just a one-way exit.
Absolutely.
You have an opportunity now to bring in guys. So depending on who's in that portal, maybe you can go unstick somebody from the portal who's looking for a good place to go.
A coach could bring guys.
A coach can
That's
bring
right.
guys too. That's
right.
where I was
so
going with
especially
that.
with this COVID thing. So while this roster may look different next year, that's not necessarily meaning that it's just a vacant lot. It could be that you lose some good guys, you gain some good guys.
Yeah.
But I do expect the roster to be a little bit more shook up next year than you would normally see. We'll see. Could be wrong. All right. When we come back, if Jeremy Pruitt goes, and we've talked about this a little bit, is Philip Fulmer still here? Is Philip Fulmer allowed to go make the choice for the next head coach? Does he have a search committee thrust upon him? We'll discuss all that. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Christmas.